Hey, sweet friends, welcome back. We have been busy here at Home with Kay. We have been busy baking, fake baking, that is. What I'm going to start out with, I have these three little loaf pans I got from Dollar Tree, three for $1.25, and I am using this foam crack filler. I just picked this bottle up from Walmart. It was about $5, and I'm just going to spray inside these pans. And what this is going to do, I kind of overfilled them, so do as I say and not as I do. I kind of overfilled them, but what this is going to do when it sets up after about 24-48 hours is it's going to swell and it's going to get hard, and it's going to be in the shape of a loaf of bread. I was trying to figure out, should I go side to side or up and down? In the end, for me, I felt like up and down was the best way for me to go. I've used this before, but not to make bread. I've made a giant, massive chocolate chip cookie, and it was incredible. I didn't film it or anything. I just, it was just something I was trying out. But I love using this foam. Once at church, we were selling popcorn as a fundraiser, and we needed to make a popcorn costume, and we also used this foam, and it was perfect. We really didn't even have to paint it because it was already yellow. But yeah, so that's all I'm doing here. And this one here, I keep filling it. I am literally overfilling it, so don't overfill your pan because this does swell. So that while that's gonna dry, I'm gonna move on to the next thing I'm gonna make. We're gonna bake a pie. We're gonna fake bake an apple pie and a blueberry pie. I only had a little bit of Model Magic. Model Magic is my most favorite clay to use. Simply because it doesn't crack. If it's too thin, it will kind of fold and bend, but otherwise it does not crack when it dries, and it shrinks a little when it dries, but it doesn't get to where it shrinks and it gets so hard that it cracks. It still stays a little soft. So this was my only little bit. I have a tiny little bit left of Model Magic, so I'm just going to make the crust for our quote-unquote apple pie. And this is the crust, and I'm not putting anything on the bottom because this is not real, so you don't need a crust on the bottom. But I'm going to just make sure that it adheres to my pie pan, and I'm going to kind of push it down into the side. So if you look down in the side, it'll look like there's a bottom crust, but there isn't. And then we are going to make the creases in it. You know how the pie has the little wavy lines, or how a crust looks. I can't think of what I'm trying to say, but that's what we're gonna do after this. And then I'm also gonna, for my next pie, I'm gonna have to use that air dry clay, and that's the one that cracks and shrinks. I could have used oven baked clay, but I just didn't feel like going out to the oven. But this worked out fine, and you'll see how it looks in the end. I was really happy how everything turned out. So how are you guys doing today? Thank you for coming and checking out my video. Here on this channel, we just do crafting with no pressure, no stress. We just craft and have a blast. If you're not already subscribed, please consider subscribing to my channel. I'm almost at 1,500 subscribers. Got one more to go, and I appreciate each and every one of you. And also like this video because it helps YouTube to push my video out to more people so everyone can see it. So now I'm just taking my fingers and I'm just pinching together each little area of the pie crust so it can actually look like a real pie crust. And like I said, this one is going to be apple, and then the other one is going to be blueberry. I was really excited about that because I have been thrifting and I found some things that I want to use on a table that I'm gonna redo, and it's gonna be some blue dishes that I got from Dollar Tree and different places, and it's just gonna look so lovely with my apple and blueberry pie. So now we're going to use the air dry clay to make the crust for my blueberry pie. And this is what it looks like. I just did the same thing. Now I needed blueberries, but I am not going to make 1,000 blueberries to go in this pie. I'm going to, you know how these pie pans come with the little round lids? I'm going to use the lid. I'm going to glue the lid in there, and then I'm just going to place the blueberries that I make on top. I'm also going to paint the lid blue so it'll look like there's tons of blueberries down there, but there really isn't. So I'm just going to roll out my air dry clay blueberries, and then we'll let those. I was going to use these beads, but I didn't want to waste my beads, and plus they're very heavy, and I didn't want this pie to be weighing a ton. So these are all the blueberries that I made, and we're going to let those dry. Now you see this piece of foam, I saved this from somewhere, but I'm going to cut it into little pieces to look like apple pieces. And I'm using my big giant pink knife to cut it. And then I'm just going to cut it up with my scissors into little apple pieces for our apple pie. So this is what it looks like after it's all cut up. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to take my hot glue gun and, no, I'm not. First, I'm going to show you guys, this is the little lid that I was telling you about that comes in those pie pans. And I'm just going to cut it to fit in my blueberry pie pan so that it's almost like you're filling the bottom with, like something fake. I'm going to put some foam in there, and then I'm going to put that on top and then paint it blue and then have it looking like it's just filled with blueberries. But I just want to make it a little smaller so it'll snugly fit inside of there. So here I'm just going to continue trimming a little more off until I can get it to fit. I think this is the last little trim, and then it's going to fit inside of our pan. So I got all my colors together. I used a little royal blue, some purple, and a little bit of ink to get that blueberry color. And I just mixed it until it looked right, to myself. And then I'm just going to paint these all in this little pan. This was the easiest way I could figure out how to paint these little round blueberries without them rolling around everywhere. So we're going to just add the paint to these, and then we're going to paint our lid, and then we're going to get everything glued inside. Now, I'm not going to show you putting together the entire blueberry pie, but I am going to show you the apple pie. And this is that lid that I'm painting as well. I just wanted to get it all the same color. Now, I'm going to show you how I'm going to glue these apples into the apple pie pan. I'm going to just add some hot glue. I should have let my hot glue gun heat up too better, but I didn't. I have one that's cordless, but I can never remember to charge it. Got it from Felicia. Felicia, I can't remember to charge it, but I love it. But anyways, here I am. I'm just adding the hot glue, and then I'm going to put the apples in. And in a way, I feel like I'm jumping back and forth, but you guys, it's just all the same technique on either pie that I do. So I'm just going to add these in first, and then I'm going to paint, and then I'm going to add the others on top, and I'm going to paint those. And that's what I'm going to do. And you see that cinnamon sitting there? After I get them painted, I'm going to shake a little cinnamon on there, because then it's going to make the pie actually have a cinnamony, caramely smell. So first layer done. Now I'm going to just use some different color paints. I used honey brown, toffee brown, regular brown. I used a little yellow just to make it look like, some cooked apples. And then, like I said, I'm going to shake the cinnamon on after that. And then I'm going to have to glue the other layer of apples on top of this layer and paint and do the same thing with those. All done. Now we're going to shake the cinnamon on top just to give it that nice smell. Now I'm just going to add some hot glue to glue this lid down to the pan so that it doesn't come up. And it was a little bit challenging because I cut it slightly too small on the side, but we were able to rectify that with just a little extra hot glue. And this is what it looked like after I added the blueberries. And then I added a little extra glue on top to make it look like really syrupy and sugary. And then I just painted that hot glue after it dried with the blue paint. And then like I said, I didn't show me finishing this, but I did. It's going to be the same technique with the apple pie. I roll out the clay, not the dough. I roll out the clay, and this is the air dry clay, the one that shrinks and cracks. So, you know, this was all I had, so that's all I used. But I rolled it out, and then I'm gonna slice it with my cutter. And then I'm going to make that nice lattice shape design. And then I'm going to lay it on top of the apple pie. And when I slice it like this, then after I'm done, I'm just going to take every other one up every other slice, and then I'm gonna weave it in. And then it's just gonna, and then I'll pick it up and put it on the pie. It was a little bit big to pick up, so it actually worked though, but I just had to be very careful when I did it. So now I'm just going to make sure all the ends are connected and fitting smoothly. I may have to add a little bit of hot glue at times, but like I said, this shrinks after it dries, so you're going to have to do some touch up if you use air dry clay. Then I just mix some paints together for the crust, and then I'm just going to go through and paint both of my pies. And then on top of the apple pie, I am going to shake a little cinnamon, and I'm going to do some hot glue spots so that it will look like the brown sugar and it's all bubbly and nice. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm just going to go through and paint and get everything the correct color. All right, now the bread. So you see the bread is all puffed up. So I just cut my little pan off. And then when you cut your pans off, it's going to be really shiny and smooth, you know? So those shiny smooth spots, you can't really paint those that well. So you're going to have a sander to sand it. And it's not going to be good and flat on the bottom. So I had to take look how hard that is. So had to cut with my knife. So I'm cutting up all these knobby edges and parts that just bubbled up. I'm going to shape it with my sander and just get it to look, the way I want. I mean, look, loaves of bread aren't perfect all the time, so I didn't mind that it was kind of lumpy bumpy, but it was just so fun to make these. I'm going to also make some muffins, like blueberry muffins, and I don't know why I'm so obsessed with blueberry right now, but that's what I'm going to make next. And I think I'm going to use this foam stuff to do that as well. And here I'm just sanding the bottom, but I'm actually going to cut that bottom off. I just wanted to see how it would work if I sanded it, but it didn't work really well. So I'm going to cut that off with my big knife, and then I'm going to open all the other two loaves of bread as well. And I think this was the biggest one. Yeah. And then I'm going to just, work on sanding and then get my paint together and paint. And then when I'm done, after I paint, I'm going to have to put Mod Podge on all of the pies and the bread, just so, it can be sealed. And I'm going to add a little tiny bit of oatmeal on top of the bread just to make it look more authentic. And guys, just so you know, that's my crafting knife. I don't use that knife in my kitchen. All right, so these are the breads, and I already began painting them. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to finish painting them, and I just use those same paints, the yellow, the tan, the toffee brown, classic caramel, just all those different color paints until it looks good to me. A couple of them, though, I'm going to go back and add a little more yellow and orange on top, but you can see them at the end of the video. And here we are, guys, at the end of the video. You see how the color on those two? I think I'm going to go back and add a little bit more of a orangey, but these are what my breads are looking like with the oatmeal on top. And I just set them up outside like this, just so we can see them in the sunshine. And then we're going to take a little peek at the pies. Here they are, guys. You see all the bubbly, caramely brown sugar goodness on that one. And this is the blueberry pie, and I added some blueberries on top as well, just so we can have a little, why am I showing the flowers? I don't know. Yep, so I love doing this, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for coming and checking out my channel today. I appreciate each and every one of you, and like I said, please subscribe if you're not already. We're trying to get to 1,500. I appreciate you all so very much, and remember to always be the sunshine.